Good evening and welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines here in the south. Alleged victims of historical sex abuse in Southampton's 1980s youth team say they may sue the club.
Train drivers on Southern Railways are told they too can strike after a High Court says industrial action is legal.
Hold back the river, the giant wall to protect Shoreham by sea from floodwater. Can it stop scenes like this?
And turning young lives around, the inspiring teachers helping troubled teens make a fresh start. Good evening. Allegations of historical child abuse involving young players at Southampton Football Club took on a new twist today.
Solicitors in Hampshire say several alleged victims have asked them about bringing legal action against the Premier League club.
It comes after another accusation of abuse in the 1990s is made against a former coach. Chris Morn has the latest.
The focus for the current Southampton squad is on tonight's Europa League tie at St Mary's. But events dating back 3 decades continue to surround the sport. Today, BL claims solicitors who are based at Eastleigh revealed they've been instructed to take legal action on behalf of alleged victims of child abuse.
I think their anger is primarily directed at the person they allege abused them, but there's also some anger against the club. But many of them don't know what the club's involvement was, what the club's awareness was. That's information that I think will come out in due course.
Bob Higgins worked in youth development with Southampton in the 1980s. He's been named in recent allegations, but has always denied any wrongdoing. After leaving Saints in 1989, Mr Higgins was appointed as Youth Development Officer for the Maltese FA, where another allegation of inappropriate behaviour has emerged.
He would not let us sit behind him. We would have to sit on the passenger side at the back so he could look at us through the mirror.
As far as I'm aware, during Mr Higgins' stay in Malta, we never had a whisper of any incident.
After finishing his contract in Malta, Mr Higgins took up other posts in the game, most recently at Fleet Town, where he helped to coach the first team.
Parents are ultimately responsible for their children's safety, but they need to be assured that they're putting them with people who will take that responsibility seriously.
So much of it was so long ago when standards were different, wasn't it? I'm not saying it was right long ago, it wasn't, but people just didn't take much notice of that sort of thing then, did they?
The rocket's gone up and I think people are very concerned about it and people ought to look into this more deeply.
Laurie McMenemy was Southampton's FA Cup winning manager. He left in 1985, but was manager when Bob Higgins began his association with the club. He says he's stunned by the abuse allegations sweeping across the game.
I'm staggered by it. I think anybody in football at my level never dreamt. It would never happen. You wouldn't have allowed it to happen. As I say, your parents, you would imagine how you would feel if it was your child.
Southampton Football Club say they're working with Hampshire Police to investigate allegations made by former players. Chris Morn, ITV News, Southampton.
A 5-year-old boy and a 52-year-old woman remain in hospital after a crash near Winchester. 2 cars were involved in the collision on Otterbourne Road in Shawford at around 5 o'clock last night. Police had to close surrounding roads while they investigated.
5 climbers have been rescued from a cliff face in Dorset. The group got into trouble at Guillemot Ledge near Swanage yesterday evening. Coast Guard teams have scrambled, but a sea rescue was considered too dangerous. Instead, they abseiled down and brought each person up individually. No one was injured.
Councillors in Brighton and Hove will be discussing how to save £24 million next year. The City Council is meeting tonight and says it faces its toughest year ever, with adult and social care services under strain. Ideas include council tax increases of 6% and the cutting of 140 jobs.
It was at this time of the year in 2013 that many residents in an area of Shoreham by Sea found themselves mopping up floodwater.
Well, 3 years on and work's underway on a multi-million-pound flood defence scheme for the town. The ambitious plan includes building a 7-kilometre barrier along the River Ada. It's designed to better protect 2,500 homes there.
Well, the project started just a few weeks ago, and today the Secretary of State for the Environment went to see exactly how it's progressing. Andy Dickinson joined her.
This was the scene on December the 5th, 2013, when a tide of floodwater swept through Shoreham. Today it's the site of the biggest Environment Agency project in the southeast, building a 4.5-mile tidal wall in the hope of protecting 2,500 homes at a cost of £31 million.
It's really important that we focus on what's in front of us, and obviously, you know, I believe genuinely that as we see more extreme weather, whether you can link it directly to climate change or not, all governments will want to deal with increasingly extreme weather events, and that's what we're seeking to do here.
Almost 3 years ago to the day, this street was left underwater when the Ada burst its banks. Its current defences breached. Residents left to salvage their possessions. We filmed with Lucy Gabriel after the floodwater had come up even through her bath and toilet.
Came up to here, so we managed to scoop it up and stop it from coming into the main bit of the house with duvets and rugs and jackets, and sort of prevented it, soaked it up, but it has been quite a long time to wait. But at least it's happening now.
Shoreham Airport, left marooned by the exceptionally high tides 3 years ago, will be guarded by new earth banks. The project also designed to spur on the development of more housing.
We had an overtopping of the defences just over there at the airport, which has now been fixed. But yes, this is a permanent fix, which is going to take around 2-3 years for us to complete. It's a big project and will help in the regeneration of Shoreham as well.
And while across the pond, Donald Trump picks a so-called climate denier as his environmental chief, few here deny that this wall will be a front line in our war against climate change. Andy Dickinson, ITV News, Shoreham.
Dorset police are asking for the public's help in finding a missing man from Bournemouth. Oliver Marsh, who's 38, was last seen yesterday afternoon in Albemarle Road in Winton. His silver Volkswagen was caught on camera along the A35 in Christchurch just after 2 p.m. He has connections with Sway and Brockenhurst.
Christmas shoplifters are being targeted by police in Winchester. Plainclothed and uniformed officers will patrol hotspots after a spate of thefts in the city. Shops will also be given advice on how to spot shoplifters at this busy time of year.
You're watching ITV News in the Meridian region. Coming up.
A noisy nuisance. The residents who say they're paying the price for the West Quay development running up to the wire. Plus, Simon's here with the forecast.
Now, you probably didn't risk going out in shorts and a t-shirt, but today was exceptionally mild. So how long will this warm weather last? I'll tell you later.
And for more on all of our stories, you can head to itv.com/Meridian. Any views or news, why not give us a ring on 0808 1010 095 or get in touch via Facebook, or you can send us a tweet at ITV Meridian.
Southern Rail commuters are taking in the latest developments in the long-running saga that now train drivers can join the strike. That's because this afternoon a court in London ruled that proposed industrial action by their union ASLEF was legal.
It means that as well as the RMT dispute by the conductors, drivers will walk out on Tuesday, and that could prevent every train on the Southern network running.
Our reporter Tom Savides is live for us at the High Court. Tom, this situation simply gets worse for the passengers, doesn't it?
Well, yes, Fred, after 2 days of legal action and argument here at the High Court in central London, the judge has ruled that those strikes next week can go ahead despite a groundbreaking legal challenge to stop them. Now, the train drivers union ASLEF says 3 walkouts planned for next week, with a further 6 in the new year, will now be going ahead as previously planned.
We urge the government to change their stance. We urge the companies to come to the table in a proper way. We've had 20 years of privatisation where we've always agreed the methods are working with whoever's been there, whether we agree the model or not. Having our terms and conditions unilaterally changed and told we've got no right to have a say in the safe operation of the railways, I don't believe is the way forward.
Well, the parent company of Southern, Govia Thameslink, was seeking an injunction here at the High Court to stop those strikes. However, today that bid failed.
Naturally, we're very disappointed by today's ruling. The judge acknowledged that such unprecedented industrial action by the ASLEF trade union will cause massive disruption across the network for our travelling public. The judge also acknowledged that the widespread use of driver-only operation is perfectly safe, both across the southern network and across the rest of the UK rail network.
Well, train passengers and commuters on Southern Rail have faced months of disruption because of a series of different strikes. Now they face even more chaos next week, and that will continue well into the new year.
Tom Savides in London, thank you.
Well, away from the High Court, the disruption caused by the 8-month-long action continues to take its toll on those who rely on the railway.
But as Kerry Swain reports, one commuter at least has found a way around the chaos. Avoid trains altogether.
My wife particularly is quite worried. It was a little while ago I did get knocked off, and she had to come and pick me up and take me to the hospital. I spent the night in hospital, so I think that's a constant worry to my wife, certainly. Through the winter it's pretty horrendous, to be honest. It's quite dangerous, it's icy, it's dark, you have to dodge cars and deer in this neck of the woods, so I'd much rather be on the train in the winter.
The crisis on the railway is changing lives. MPs in our region say hundreds of constituents have been in touch, warning they're in danger of losing their jobs. One commuter had a new job offer withdrawn when the employer realised she would travel on Southern Rail. Darren Ray moved to Uckfield so he'd be within walking distance of the station, but the service so unreliable he's commuting to Croydon by bike.
I blame the overarching rail company most of all, but I think I've started to lose sympathy with the strikers. It's gone too far, and the people that are losing are the commuters. We pay the fares, we're not getting a service.
It's not just commuters. Robbie Smith is disabled. He depends on the train to get to hospital appointments and visit friends. He describes a journey to Littlehampton from London this week, which took 5 hours and several trains, as the worst experience he's ever had on the railway.
It's very horrid and dire experience. It was cold, the staff were very unhelpful, they didn't have any idea what was happening themselves. We had to change trains at least 3 times. I find the journeys particularly difficult for me because I have slight disabilities, I have an imbalance problem, along with a few other slight disabilities, so I can't stand for a prolonged period of time. So I was waiting by the ticket gates for the announcements on the departure screens. It's just complete and utter shambles.
About half of trains were cut today. Sir Nicholas Soames, the Conservative MP for Mid Sussex, says there's a mood of real anarchy among passengers. Kerry Swain, ITV News.
It's fast approaching 14 minutes past 6. Thank you so much for being there for us. The ITV Evening News continues with the national and the international news at 6:30. To London now for a preview. Mary Nightingale.
Warning that the war in Syria is putting the UK in danger. The boss of MI6 says the scale of the terror threat is unprecedented and Russian action in Syria is to blame. Exclusive. FIFA's Secretary General tells us she doesn't understand British anger over the poppy ban. And how giraffes are facing a silent extermination. Join Alistair Stewart and me for that and more at 6:30.
We will, Mary. Thank you very much. Now, the £85 million redevelopment of the West Quay shopping centre in Southampton is nearing completion, and today some of the new restaurants there have opened to the public.
But residents who live nearby say their lives have been disrupted by up-to-the-wire building work that's been going on round the clock to get shops ready for the Christmas rush and the official launch on Saturday.
Yes, they say the late-night noise is flouting planning laws and the council has taken action, but is it too little, too late? With more, Richard Slay.
It's a racket that's now going on around the clock. For the first time last night, work on the new development at West Quay didn't stop. For residents like George and Max, it's turned into a nightmare. Well, it would be if they could get any sleep. They've lived with noise like this for 18 months, but they say 3 weeks ago it got much worse, with drilling and grinding continuing into the night and on Sundays.
Imagine this at 1 a.m. when you've got to get up at 6 a.m. I don't see how that's fair in any way, so that a big business cannot pay fines because they're behind on their building work.
We've retired from the front of the house altogether. We stay in the back bedroom now, which isn't really ideal. We just have no peace at all anymore.
Back in July, Southampton City Council planners did approve extending the working hours, but Sunday was not included. Since then, the council has received 26 complaints from local residents about noise at unsocial hours. Last week, the council issued the contractor with a breach of conditions notice, and it has 28 days to comply, or it could be prosecuted. But by then, the development is likely to be completed. The contractors, Hammerson, say there's nobody available to be interviewed today, but the firm did issue a statement which says to have the first phase of this development open in time for this weekend, it has been necessary to work longer hours than usual. However, over the course of the build, disruption to local residents has been kept to a minimum. George and Max would disagree with that. And as the final festive touches go up and some of the restaurants open their doors to customers for the first time, there's very little Christmas cheer being felt by the development's disgruntled neighbours. Richard Slee, ITV News, Southampton.
The number of pupils being excluded from school is on the rise. Last year's figures are up by more than 10%.
Well, a third of all children who are permanently excluded are banned for persistent disruptive behaviour. But a school in a part of Southampton has been bucking that trend and achieving remarkable results by running a special unit aimed at turning life around for some of its most challenging students.
In 3 years, it's helped more than 80 pupils by offering lots of one-to-one support and some occasional tough talking too. Here's Christine Alsford's second special report about an ordinary school doing some extraordinary work to make sure every day counts.
For Paige Masters, things are going well at school these days. She's working hard in lessons. She's been made a school captain, selected by staff as a role model for her classmates. But not so long ago, things were completely different.
I used to think I was like top dog, be bigger than everyone else. And I tried proving my point too much, so I'd get into too many fights and I gave myself a reputation and a name, which wasn't good. I spent loads of time in isolation.
Other students were actually scared of her. She had this massive reputation.
To turn things around, over 2 years Paige spent time being taught in a special unit called Educate within Redbridge Community School in Southampton.
Is 5, then put the M back in, then put the 5 on top, so
It helps pupils of all abilities who are at risk of exclusion. It has small classes, individual timetables, counselling if needed, and lots of expert support.
It's a second chance. As a school, we're not giving up on the students. We're not saying, right, you've got to this point and we now need to get you out. What we're doing is saying you've got to this point, you need extra support, and that extra support is what Educate can give.
I learned how to respect people more. I learned how to care for people and show that I'm equal to everyone else. Some of us have harder lives than others. That's why we're naughty. Some of us don't get along with people in mainstream like others, and that is why we struggle.
Earning the right to go back to lessons in the main school, academic and vocational, is the goal. But not everyone needs Educate's help full-time. Year 11 pupil Michael McCann spends only a small part of his timetable there, but it's helped him enormously.
If it wasn't for Educate, I'll be out of this school. It's helped me wasn't up in mainstream. They try their best to look after you, but don't forget there's more kids. So there's going to be less kids in here so they can support more.
And the view is that learning in the rest of the school benefits if pupils who can be disruptive are removed and taught elsewhere.
I can't get my own way all the time, so maybe I should just listen.
There's ongoing support for successful pupils like Paige who have finished their time in Educate. Despite her positive attitude nowadays, there can still be occasional lapses, and today there's straight talking about a recent incident in PE.
So tried to make me take my coat off, and I did refuse, and he did go mad at me, and I did walk away.
You represent the school football team, you've been doing super well, and yet you still choose to disrespect and not follow school rules. You need to help the school like the school has always helped you. The fact that she's gone from, you know, borderline and permanent exclusion to being a role model and a captain in her year group is an amazing journey that she's followed. She's a well-liked girl now.
From food technology to maths, the aim is that everyone in the Educate family leaves school with decent qualifications, but it's not all that counts.
There's more to Educate than what is on the performance tables. There's more to Roadbridge than just making sure that our data goes up in a positive trend. Our goal is to make sure that they leave this school wanting to be someone, rather than leaving this school with no hope or no aspirations.
School's towards your future, a job, house, children, because if you're too busy being silly, mucking around, bigging yourself up like I used to, you're not going to get nowhere in life. You need to learn from your mistakes.
Paige is now well on the way to getting the grades she needs to go on to college, and she's aiming for a career looking after children with special needs, helping others who depend on a bit of extra support. Christine Osford, ITV News.
And for the final part in our series on Redbridge Community School, we hear from the man in charge there about how the school has changed under his leadership.
OK, sport now. Southampton have a huge match tonight in the Europa League. Andrew Pate is at St Mary's ahead of the action. Here's his report.
It's Southampton v Hapoel Beersheva in their final qualifying match. And whoever wins goes through to the knockout stages. Southampton also qualify if it's a goalless draw. But if it's a score draw, then the Israeli side go through. So it's going to be a tense, nervous, exciting evening here at St Mary's.
Selco Builders Warehouse, proud sponsors of ITV Meridian Sports Report.
Tonight sees the sixth and final match of Group K. Southampton doing well at home, but struggling on the road, including the goalless draw at Hapoel Beersheva. The players say they're ready to get the job done.
We're enjoying being in the competition. We want to progress. We've got a good opportunity to do that. Obviously finishing off with a home game, and probably if you had said that at the start of the group to win your last home game, you would have gone through, then you would have taken that. So we're in a good position to say we want to be involved in all competitions after Christmas and really see how far we can go this season.
So the players are ready for tonight's match, but what about the rest of us watching on? Well, I caught up with a former Southampton player who's been commentating on these European matches and even went out to Prague to cheer the team on. He's a Southampton legend, has recently been awarded the Freedom of the City and has been commentating on Saints' Europa League adventure. Francis Benali's highlight so far, the win over Inter Milan.
It was an incredible night, fantastic atmosphere, played under lights, seems to have a unique atmosphere as well. Used to love it as a player. When we were playing at the Dell, a game under lights there was incredible. And I think the supporters get that vibe and that excitement about a night game, and especially when it's a European game and against a side like Inter. It was a fantastic night in every sense and capped off by a great result.
Fresh from his charity run and cycle right around the country, Franny, his mate Matt Letizier and their wives went to Prague to cheer on the Saints. But like the other Europa away matches, Southampton just couldn't score, and Sparta took all the points.
And it's lifted into Costa!
We had a fantastic few days out there, really looking forward to watching the game, and of course it just left the stadium that night, you know, on a little bit of a low, Disappointed that we weren't able to score or come away with the result. So I'd say for those supporters that have followed the team to 3 away games in Europe now and not seen a single goal would probably be the little bit of a low point.
Do you think Saints will do it?
I've got no doubt. From what I've seen throughout the competition and what we've seen in games in the Premier League again this season, I can't wait. There's work to be done. Obviously, there's still a job to do, but the prize that's at stake for the winner on the night is a big one, and I'm looking forward to Southampton being in the knockout stages later in the competition.
Kick-off tonight is at 8:05. We'll have the best of the action and reaction on tomorrow night's programme.
Thanks, Andrew. Come on, you Saints.
Come on, you Saints, indeed. Simon's with us now. Simon, what have you got?
Well, I have a new sport, fungus spotting. Still a lot of it about, and very interesting stuff it is too. Have a look at this one here. What do you make of that? Look, from Andrew Gregory. He found it growing on the side of an old beech tree on the top of Beacon Hill.
A bit of a looker, isn't he?
Well, Andrew, anyway, lion's mane fungus is what it's known as, which you can see that now that I've told you, can't you? John Sinclair sent in this one, yellow stag's horn, don't you know? But because it's greasy and sticky, it's also referred to as jelly antler fungus, which I think I like better. Yes. David Illman in Sussex has spotted loads. That there is your golden scaly cap at Goodwood. And these, in West Dean Woods, are called plums and custard, or occasionally strawberry mushrooms.
It's more traditional, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you'd think so. You sometimes come across them in decaying conifer roots, by the way. Sue Bradley sent in this one. No idea what it is, but she thinks it looks like a lady in crinoline holding a child.
Perhaps an angel.
And finally, have a look at this one from June, who was a bit surprised to find growing out of her pine cone that's lying in her olive tree pot just outside her front door in Seaford. So
it's been said before. You are truly a fun guy.
We miss that when we don't do that gag.
Yeah, we have to do it.
And with a lovely forecast, hopefully, Simon Parkett.
From blizzards to pool, driving through Europe. Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Now, around the long hours of darkness we get at this time of year, there have been some fairly stunning starts and ends to the day. This is the end of the day, yesterday in fact, on the Dorset coast from Martin Dolan. And this morning, many of us woke up to a strange purple sky. Lots of pictures coming in. One I've chosen from Steve Richardson in Cosham. Well, thankfully, the cloud has turned a more pleasant shade of grey as we've headed through today. And as we head into tonight, well, it's more of the same, really. Generally overcast, the extra grey coming from the mist and murk developing, some hill fog here and there. Might be an odd spot of drizzle, but a lot of dry weather through the night. But once again, very mild temperatures, 10, 11 degrees through the night. So for tomorrow morning, you might just get away with a bit of early brightness towards the west. Elsewhere, it's a grey start. The mist will lift, fair bit of cloud as we head through Friday, courtesy of a weak weather front. But the wind's increasing as the day goes on. We could get gusts of around 25, 30 miles an hour along the coast and around the Isle of Wight. But look at those temperatures. That strong wind dragging in the mild air means we'll see highs of 11 or 12. 12 is 54 in Fahrenheit. Your average at this time of year, usually around 7 or 8 degrees. So we are doing exceptionally well. As for your high tide times, you can see in Brighton around 6:25 in the morning, 5 to 7 in the evening. Now that weak weather front that's bringing the extra cloud tomorrow continues on its journey south and eastwards as we head into Saturday with some rain on it. A few heavy bursts here and there, a lot of it light and drizzly through much of Saturday. Then it'll clear off. Then we get a ridge of high pressure developing for Sunday. So Sunday looking brighter, yes, but also a bit cooler too.
Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
A look ahead to a programme that's coming up here on ITV at 7:30 this evening, and the Tonight team have been investigating the struggling pub industry.
Indeed, with more and more pubs sadly going out of business, some landlords are trying different ways to keep going.
Well, the Tonight team report on the communities rallying round to save their much-loved locals and how the growing popularity of the craft beer industry is helping the great British pub revolution, or is it? Tonight at 7:30.
Live the British pub.
Cheers to that.
Yes.
In just a moment, we've got the ITV Evening News with Mary Nightingale and Alistair Stewart.
Stacey's got Adult News. Join her if you can. But for now, from the team here at ITV Meridian, thank you very much as always for watching. See you tomorrow. Take care.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.